How do you kind of get people in the right frame of mind to start picking up the phone and making calls?
Let's just say I call a seller and the seller has a house and I want to buy it from them. Well, what if they don't want to sell it? Great. Do you know of anyone else selling a house? No. Do you have any money to lend? Like, figuring out the way you can do business with somebody. I think people need to learn that art.
Why should people care about creative financing right now?
I don't need to use my own capital to be able to buy these properties. Traditional financing, you can't do that. Why? Because the money has to be seasoned into your account, specific rules and guidelines that you have to follow. But when it comes to creative financing, the sky is really the limit as far as what you can do with your real estate portfolio.
Yeah.
Right? So when people don't know what's going on, a confused mind will always say no.
Welcome to the Rehab with Ehab podcast. I'm your host, Ehab Shoukry, and today I am with creative financing expert Andrew Arriaga. This guy knows everything about creative financing, seller financing, owner financing, subject to all the things that people are craving for with these high interest rates. And this is going to be an awesome show. Andrew, thank you so much for being on the show, man. Tell me, why should people care about creative financing right now?
I think creative financing is really going to change the game in 2024. I think really the biggest thing that people really want about creative financing is they want to understand why is it beneficial for them. If I'm a new investor and I'm coming into the market in 2024, interest rates are really, really high. And if I can get into a property that cash flows really well, but my interest rate is like 2 or 3%, like that's the dream, and most people don't even know that that's an opportunity for them, right? So I think people need to be aware of what options are out there for a lot of individuals to be able to, advance their real estate portfolio, which I think is probably one of the biggest things, one of the biggest advantages of creative financing, I would say.
Explain creative financing just before we get too deep into it so people understand really what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So creative financing is almost like an umbrella. If you want to look at an umbrella, there is different things that you can do. So it's all about just being creative on the solution that we can do. So for example, if there's no financing in place, like if I'm going to buy an asset like this building, if the individual owns it free and clear, right, we can go to a lender and get traditional financing, or we can go to that seller and say, hey, can you carry the note for me, and we just create terms, right? That was called seller financing. On the opposite spectrum, if there's a loan in place, instead of us getting a loan to pay off their current loan, we can just take over their existing loan. So that's called subject to. And then there's other finances in the middle as far as if they own half of it free and clear, the other half they still have a mortgage. There's creative ways that we can come to it. But creative financing is almost like this umbrella term, and then everything underneath that, depending on what we can do, is all dependent on what the seller's problem is.
Yeah. So yeah, it really is about finding ways to purchase a property outside of just getting a traditional loan, right? Because I think one of the things about traditional loans is they typically eat up some of your capital, right? And when it comes to being able to own multiple properties, which is necessary for financial freedom and really building a business, you've got to be creative in how you acquire these properties.
Yeah. No. So, and I like how you said that too, because capital is the biggest thing. Like we all run into issues where it's like, as we start scaling our portfolio, we run out of capital like quickly, right? And so I think that's the biggest attraction to people about creative financing is that I don't need to use my own capital to be able to buy these properties, right? I can use somebody else's capital. Let's say I'm a hungry young investor that I want to achieve financial freedom. I can acquire this property and then bring another individual as a partner to say, hey, you have the money. I have the skills, the wherewithal to be able to take this property down. Let's partner up together.
Yeah.
In traditional financing, you can't do that. Why? Because the money has to be seasoned into your account. You have specific rules and guidelines that you have to follow, which those are all well and good. But when it comes to creative financing, I don't have to have the capital. I can raise the capital from somebody else. They feel secure. And once people start understanding that, as far as creative financing goes, the sky is really the limit as far as what you can do with your real estate portfolio, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. So for subject to, because I know that's really all the craze right now, when I talk to people about creative financing, I think people don't understand how you can own a property without actually going out and getting a loan. So explain that a little bit to me so I understand. Yeah,
so let's take a step back. So what is sub to, right? So subject to is you're purchasing the house subject to the existing mortgage. So let's take away the word mortgage, right? Let's just say I'm purchasing a car subject to, right? And so I'll paint a scenario for you for people can understand sub to. If somebody buys a car and they pull it off of the lot, right? They buy a car brand new, right? At the beginning of the year, everyone has 0% financing. Buy this car right off the lot. You pay zero down, you buy this, you finance this car. But usually when people finance the car, they have a payment on it. Well, what happens with the car after a couple of months is it depreciates very heavily. Right? After 2 years, that car is depreciated like 60% or so. Well, let's just say that person that buys that car and finances it, let's just say they lose their job. And now they got to start making payments on that car. So most of us in our scenario, what do? We go to Craigslist, Kelley Blue Book, all these other areas. We try to find somebody to buy that car for us. Well, of course, if I put my car for Kelley Blue Book, what I bought it for, no one's going to give me that price because it depreciates so quickly.
Right.
So what people do in that scenario is they say, hey, can you just take over my payments, right? That's the art of buying whatever object, AC unit, whatever car, a house, you acquire it via the mortgage already, or the debt already being in place. You're just taking over payments for the debt. Yeah. So that's subject to, you're acquiring a house in this example, you're acquiring a house subject to the existing mortgage. And so the mortgage is staying in place. So your question is, well, how can you actually do this, right? That's mainly the main question is, how can it occur? And the easy answer is simple. This has been going on for the last 70 years or so. This is not something that we're creating. The reason that subject to is a more bigger trend is because interest rates are 7, 8, 9% now. Right? And that's really the biggest thing is in 2020 and 2021, they were just giving away loans, 2% loans, 0%, 1% loans, 5% loans. Yeah. They were giving away loans, basically giving away free money. And so what happened with the housing market is the housing market, as we all remember, it went up really, really quickly. So people were overpaying for the house because their interest rates were so much lower and their monthly payment was so much lower.
Yeah.
Well, now those same people, and this is, we'll get into later, is how to find a sub-2 deal, but is now people are like sitting there saying, well, now I got to sell my house. And since I overpaid for it in 2020 and 2021, now the market is flat. And now they're getting into trouble where they can't sell their house because they don't have equity in it. And so that's where subject to becomes more of a creative solution for them to be able to take over these payments. Instead of me getting a loan to pay off their 2 or 3% interest rate loan, well, for us, it's like, hey, well, let's figure out how much equity you do have, seller, and let me pay out your equity. Let me pay your agent their commissions, and let me just take over payments for your actual property.
Right.
And that is the art of purchasing a house subject to. And so you're just taking over payments.
Yeah. And in return, you're actually owning the property by getting the deed, right?
Oh, yeah. So, and this is the biggest misconception too with sub 2 is, again, this is our nature of just lack of understanding or lack of education, I would say, is that we have a deed, right? So there's a deed who owns the property, right? The deed is who owns it, title is how you own it, and then there's a debt, right? The mortgage. We think that those are the same documents, but they're actually 2 different documents, right? So the deed is going to get transferred from the seller's name into our company's name, the LLC that we own. That transfers over through a title company. And then the debt, which is the mortgage, whether if it's Chase, Wells Fargo, whatever, that stays in place. So that stays in the seller's name. And so we can just basically take over payments. So yes, the title gets transferred over to us. And then what ends up happening is once the title gets transferred over to us, then at that point, then we can do what we want with the asset. We can rent it, we can refinance it, we can do what we want with it. We can turn it into a beautiful studio or Airbnb like you have here. There's so many things that you can do, but you're just taking over the existing financing in place, which is amazing.
That's awesome. My subject to experience was kind of a couple that were getting a divorce and they were behind on payments. And so they needed me to kind of come in and get them caught up because they were going to get foreclosed on, which I was able to do. Yeah. And in return, I got them caught up. I started taking over and making their payments. I got the deed, as you mentioned, and then I spent another about $10,000-15,000 just painting and doing some minor updates to the house so that I could then list it back on the market and sell it. So that was a great experience. And it goes faster too, right? Because you're not having to get qualified with a bank. You're not having to submit all your financials and your W-2s and all the things that the banks want to see. Yeah. You literally have to open up title, make sure you have clear title, and get your documents in place to be able to close.
Yeah. So we call that. So you bought the house subject to, and then you went and put it back on the retail market, right? Yeah. So we in the creative financing world, we call that like a subtail. So you're taking it over sub 2, and then you're either wholesaling it or fixing or wholetailing it and putting it back on the market. And that's the best part about that. And people don't understand this, so I'm going to bring it out. Is that you don't have 12%. You don't have to go get a hard money loan on that property. Yeah. You're not paying 10 or 12% every single month, interest only. Your monthly payment is a lot cheaper, right? So your risk adversity, as far as to keep it on the market longer, you're not bleeding money every single month. You're just basically paying the underlying mortgage, which in this case, yes, they were behind on payments, but that mortgage was probably in place for the last couple of years or so. So you're not paying heavy down interest, you're paying more down principal because it's in the amortization schedule a little bit longer. And I think that's the most powerful thing to understand is that you get a win because you can get an interest rate that makes sense for you. You can go and rehab it, refinance it, take your time doing it. Obviously, you don't want to. But then when you put it back on the market, you can keep it on there longer because you're not bleeding money every single month.
Yeah.
And that's the benefit for you. The benefit for the seller is that you took away a lot of their pain. There's no foreclosure coming in their name. And they're able to basically save their credit, and you were able to do that through creative financing, which is very powerful.
That's awesome, yeah. So, you mentioned something about wholesaling. I never thought about using subject to as a wholesaling strategy, but I know you've done, I think, 30 wholesale deals last year, you told me, and that could be a great way for people who don't have a lot of capital to get into real estate investing. So how do you wholesale doing subject to?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like, let's just say with that property, right? Let's just say I found that property, I got it under contract, and I knocked on your door, when I followed you on Instagram, and I said, hey, Ehab, I have this property, it's a subject to, are you interested in buying it? And so all you're doing is you're basically paying me a finder's fee for that, right? Mm-hmm. So let's just say the house needed $20,000 worth of work, and they're $20,000 worth of rehab, right? And I would come to you and say, hey, it needs $20,000 worth of work. There's $20,000 of rear payments you need to catch up. And I want a $5,000 or $10,000 finder's fee.
Yeah.
Are you willing to pay that for me? And you can look at it and say, you know what, I'm willing to pay that for you. Or you can come back and say, no, you know what, I can't pay you 10 because I don't know what's going to go happen here, right? It's all about negotiations. Mm-hmm. And you can say, I'll pay you a $5,000 finder fee for that property. Let me know if that works. And you're putting in the offer for me, like if you were to put in a regular offer with another wholesaler. So it's the same transaction, it's nothing different. The only thing that I would be wholesaling is the actual terms, right? I'm assigning the rights to this contract to you, like a normal wholesale contract, right? Yeah. And so that's the benefit of it. Now you got to be careful with who you work with as far as the title companies go, because there's some title companies that they don't even know how to use subject to transactions. Even though, a HUD statement, if you look at a settlement statement, subject to, it's on every single HUD statement, right? There's a HUD 1, it's called a settlement statement. It's on every settlement statement. It's called existing loan subject to. Right. It's written on a settlement statement, but I want to say like 90% of title companies don't know about this transaction, right? So when people don't know what's going on, a confused mind will always say no. So if you walk in and say, hey, do you guys do subject to? They're going to be like, I don't know what that is. Like, are you speaking German to me? So it's one of those things where it's like, we can do a wholesale transaction to you and I can wholesale it if the deal makes sense. Mm-hmm. Now the next question is people ask, like, well, why don't I just take the deal down myself, right? And you hit it right on the head, is like, I'm a newbie, right? Let's just say I'm a newbie and I'm just getting started. I don't have the crew, I don't have the resources like you do. So it's like, if I come to you and I say, hey, where are you buying properties and where are you expanding your portfolio? Then I can go hunt pre-foreclosure leads there. I can go hunt on the MLS market to find opportunities for you and just bring them to you, right? People that are watching this podcast, they can go on, they can figure out where your buy box is, and they can just hunt creative financing deals for you, and you'd be more than happy to pay them assignment fees because you're making money on the back end of it, and it's beneficial for you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's important because having the right team, having the right title company, being able to go to people and explain what it is that you're trying to do is so important. And, I think a lot of times people, they go to one title company and they tell them this is illegal or this doesn't work, and then they just give up, right? Yes. But, just hearing you talk about the story and knowing how many people are out there doing it, it really does confirm that it's a valid strategy, it's a great strategy, especially with these high interest rates that you mentioned. And it's something that, whether you're a seasoned investor or you're new or you're into traditional financing, you really need to know this part of the business and this really acquisition strategy, because it does open up more doors for being able to buy being able to buy properties from maybe sellers that don't have a lot of equity, or it's a nicer home, they don't want to come really far down on the price, because doesn't need any repairs. And you really just kind of opened up this whole new world of properties that are available for people to buy. Yeah,
it's a solution for a specific individual, right? And I think as a real estate investor, we need to add more solutions to our tool belt, right? We need to join a mentorship, like you have a phenomenal mentorship. Join communities like that to say, what don't I know and how can I add more tools to my tool belt? Because the ultimate goal for all of us is to get to financial freedom, right? And if I only have a small little tool, can I get there? Yeah. Can I do it traditionally? Can I get there in 20 years? Of course. But if I learn creative financing, if I learn how to wholesale, if I learn how to fix and flip, if I learn how to develop, if I learn how to get to a community that can help me put all those tools on my tool belt, you can get to financial freedom a lot faster.
Yeah.
And I think creative financing is that tool that people need to start adding to their tool belt in 2024, because if they don't, they're going to be behind the 8 ball and they're going to be missing out on all these opportunities. And when you miss out on opportunities, you delay your financial freedom, the level that you got to get to financial freedom.
Yeah, it's such a great analogy, a tool, because if you only have a hammer, then you only can bang in nails, right? But what are you going to do if you run into a screw or you run into a piece of wood that needs to be cut, right? You're not going to have the right tool to be able to handle that situation. And so it is just a great way to add another tool, another strategy to being able to acquire properties.
Also too, no, I like how you said that. The biggest thing too to keep in mind is that you got to understand it at a higher level, right? If I'm a new investor and I'm hearing this podcast and I'm hearing all these creative terms like what is creative financing, what is seller financing, what is lease options, what are all these terms that I'm talking about? You have to just understand what the overall goal is of what we're trying to achieve with each of these strategies, because again, creative financing is an umbrella. But you have to find an individual, whether if it's a seller, whether if it's a fix and flipper or an individual developer like you, and you have to get this tool and you have to hand it to them. So you have to understand the tool, you have to understand what it's used for, and then find the individual that you can tie it to. Right. Because if I'm working with a distressed seller that needs to sell tomorrow, guess what? Creative financing is not going to work for them, right? Why? Because they're going to need a cash deal.
Yeah.
Right? Just like somebody that just bought a house and it's $1 million, $2 million house, it's like they just want to cash out and be gone, right? So having those different tools in the different tool belt, really, you have to really understand how to use those tools. Yeah. And I think understanding that overall concept and then going in, like you always say, fail forward, going and learning, going and figuring it out. I think that's the best part. People got to implement this. So learn the skill. Don't spend a lot of time learning it. Go and try to, fail forward and try to learn it. Join a community like yours to where you can actually learn the skill, learn this asset, and eventually start buying and acquiring more properties.
Yeah, or a community like yours. You have a great community here in Houston, and you guys get together and do something called Power Hour, right? Like where you're bringing a bunch of people together every weekend and making live phone calls and really on the job training in the the most extreme way.
Yeah, so you can almost look at it like a investor friendly call center, right? So we're just bringing new investors, seasoned investors, we're bringing them together. Our concept is we don't like a lot of networking events because it's always fun to network, but a lot of times when you go to networking events, you're more of like, hey, this is how many properties I have, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. Like everyone's flexing. This is the opposite. We're more of an action-taking event where it's like you show up, we're going to give you a list, we're going to give you people to call, everyone's going to call, and if somebody gets an opportunity on the phone, we'll stop what everyone's doing, we'll underwrite the property, we'll look at it, we'll see if it pencils out. If it's a cash deal, if it's a creative deal, then we'll talk about it together. And it's just a way just to learn, just take action. It's a free event. We don't charge anything. We don't ask anyone to do anything. And it's just a way to because some people, this is the best part about this, and this is my opinion. Not a lot of us want to be on the phones.
Yeah.
Not a lot of us want to be wholesalers. Not a lot of us want to be all this other stuff. So it gives people opportunities to say, oh, that looks cool, but that doesn't fit me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times people fail in this industry because they think they have to make the calls. They think they have to go knock on these sellers' doors. They think they have to go do that. Now, does that make you a good investor? Yes, of course. But you don't have to start there. If you have a good job, if you have money to lend, there's so many ways that people can make money in this business, right? For you, you have a very successful real estate career.
Yeah.
But you didn't always start there, but you have the financing and the resource to be able to get there. If I have a lot of money, I would be knocking on your door and say, hey, how can I provide value to you? And how can I hand you my money and we can partner up and go make this better? So for me, if I have money and I come to you, I'm skipping all these steps of having to do all the underwriting, all this other stuff. I'm relying on your resources and your network. And I think that's the biggest part about Power Hour is that people get to actually see that. And they can see, I don't want to learn underwriting because I'm a doctor and I make $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
I have money in my bank account. Let me go find the leaders like Ehab to where it's like, hey, I have money, let's partner up. Let me know when your next project is and we can just do that. And it helps you grow and scale because at the end of the day, we all need money.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about Power Hour the most.
Yeah, it is scary making that phone call. And I even today when I make phone calls to a realtor or a seller, you feel that little adrenaline rush before you make the phone call, and you never know which way it's going to go. But it always works out at the end. I mean, it's either they're going to tell you, no, I'm not interested, or that could be the phone call that gets you that deal,
yes.
Right? And starts really changing the trajectory of your business and your real estate career. What mindset should people have going into making phone calls? Like, how do how do you kind of get people in the right frame of mind at Power Hour to start picking up the phone and making calls?
Well, it goes back to what you know, right? And a lot of us, we don't know how to make a call, right? And a lot of us, when we go to Power Hour, we give you like a little mini script, little mini boot camp, right? We have a sales trainer there. His name's Jeff Smith. Shout out to Jeff. He teaches us a lot about how to make cold calls and how to have conversations with people. And a lot of times when we have like this little script that we follow, we want to follow it to a T. But when we understand, hey, we're just putting an order at a restaurant. We're just trying to say, hey, I'm just calling this restaurant and say, do you have pizza? Or do you have this type of thing? So I think it's just understanding what you're doing. You're making a call to an agent or seller to see if they're interested in doing selling or if they're interested in creative financing. That's all you're doing. Yeah. And the other person on the other line, their job is to either qualify you to see if you're legitimate, but also to see if it makes sense, right? And I think when people understand just the art of just cold calling in general, you're just having a conversation with an individual. Yeah. The mindset is just that. You just have a quality conversation. Because most of us, and this is I think where people fail with cold calling, is most of us, like let's just say I call a seller, and the seller has a house and I want to buy it from them. Well, what if they don't want to sell it? Great. Do you know of anyone else selling a house? No. Great. Do you have any money to lend? Like figuring out the way you can do business with somebody. I think people need to learn that art as skill as well too. I was on the phone with the agent yesterday. The house that they were purchasing that I was calling about didn't work out. But she connected me with another investor that buys a lot of subject to deals. And so if I would have just called her and said, hey, followed the script and said, hey, does your seller want to do creative financing, the script that we have? And she would have said no, if I would have hung up, I would have lost that connection.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times when we're calling people, we have to figure out how can I make money in this business with this individual? Yeah. And I think that's where investors go wrong, is that they try to just, I'm going to do in this market, I'm going to be in this market. Like for you, you're specialized in this one little area, one little pocket of area, right? Once you get specialized in that area, then everyone knows that you're that investor in that area that's doing really well. Yeah. And so if we don't have that connection, or if I don't find that out, I'm going to be spending years trying to find you. Versus if I ask a simple question like, hey, who's doing a lot of business in this area? And everyone's going to point towards you. Yeah. And I think a lot of times when we make calls, we just think we just have one objective, get the deal closed. Yeah. But the reality is it's not. You have to have multiple agendas. It's like, okay, they said this. What do they mean by that? You know, oh, I have another investor that does that. Oh, let me dig into that. You know, I'm a naturally curious individual. Yeah. It's like, oh, what did you mean when you said you had a lot of investors that do that? Tell me about it. Oh, well, this guy bought 20 last year. I'm like, oh my God. Wow. Like, how can you connect me with them? Mm-hmm. And it's like, not only that, it's like, how can you connect me with them? For every deal that I buy, I'll pay you $5,000.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Right? And then it incentivizes that realtor to say, oh, wait, you're going to pay me $5,000 for every deal that you do with them? Like, yeah, of course. Like, why not? And it incentivizes them to make the connection, and you make the connection and you follow through with what you're doing, right? So I think that's, people need to understand the mindset of cold calling. Whether you're calling an agent or a seller, you have to figure out, okay, what is the best use of this individual, right? It goes back to creative financing. It's a tool in our tool belt. And that individual, the seller or the agent, that we can utilize them to a certain degree as far as whether if they're lending us money, whether if they're connecting us with buyers, whether if they're doing all this other stuff. That's the one thing that I love about cold calling, is that you don't know who's on the other side of the line, and you don't know what roads you can go down, the relationships that you can build with that individual.
Yeah, I love that. It's not, calling to try to close a deal, or it's not, you against them. It's really calling and trying to be collaborative and figure out, do you have a solution that they're interested in? Does your solution fit their needs? And if not, maybe there's another way that you can work together, right? 100%. And so it ends up being a phone call that offers a ton of different possibilities. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great. Well, I want to get my hand on that magical script that you talked about. So I'm going to ask you for a copy of that so I can share with everybody, because that sounds like a great script.
Yeah, so we'll send it. I'll give you the script, and then we'll put it on the description on the bottom of this. So we'll get a link to that to everyone there. Yeah.
Great. So you mentioned lists, and you mentioned going after kind of the right type of seller. Yeah. What should be people trying to do or target when they're thinking about creative financing or subject to?
Yeah, so specifically with sub 2, you want to find people that don't have really a lot of equity. So I'm going to give you guys 3 lists that you guys should be calling, like today, tomorrow, right? So the first one is you should be calling people that are in pre-foreclosure, right? Somebody where it's like, hey, they're late on payments, they're behind on payments, and they either need to sell their house to basically get themselves out of the hole that they've dug themselves in. So pre-foreclosure is a phenomenal list. The next list that you should really target are expired listings. Yep. Like people are not targeting expired listings. So think about this, and I'll give you the third one in a second. But think about this. Somebody put their house on the market for 6 months. Put the house on the market for 6 months. It didn't sell. Why didn't it sell? Well, because maybe they don't have equity. Maybe they don't know the solutions they can offer them. So targeting expired listings is probably the best thing. And the conversation goes as simple as this. Hey seller, I noticed you tried to sell your house. I'm not a real estate agent, right? Because I'm not an agent. That's my script. I'm not a real estate agent, but I'm just curious on why the house didn't sell. And they're going to be like, oh, well, the agent promised me this. Amy just promised me that. Great. Well, I can come up with a creative solution, and I can come up to the price that you want. You just got to give me the terms that make sense. And they're going to be more intrigued at that point. But what if they tell you, hey, I couldn't sell it because this is the number that I need to sell it with, and no one offered me this number, and I'm not writing a check to sell my house, right? They don't have any equity.
Yeah.
So then that's the opening line for you to say, well, we can do this creative solution where I can basically take over payments for your house. Mm-hmm. So expired listings, pre-foreclosure, those two like top of the list. The third one I will say is go to these new build communities, these new build areas, and find properties that have been bought and sold in a certain time. And so the time frame for every property that you want to target is 2018, 2019 to around May of 2022. So these houses were bought in this time and they're back on the market today. Chances are their interest rate is less than 5%.
Yeah.
Right? And chances are they don't have a lot of equity.
Yeah.
So it's like that list you need to target. Go find new build communities in all of your area, wherever you're at. Go to Redfin, go to Zillow. Type in 2021, 2022, 2023 builds, and make sure they're not new construction, right? Because you can't really do a lot of creative financing with new builders because they have so much profit in the deal. They're not going to be creative on their solutions, especially with developers. So find a property that's been lived in, and then they have it back on the market. And just have a simple conversation with them. I think those are really the three main lists. And it's just at that point, it's just identifying problems, being curious, trying to ask the right appropriate questions to be able to see, hey, is there a problem that you have that I can solve?
Yeah, you know, one of my first experiences in real estate was me being a motivated seller, and it's exactly what you said. I bought a house in a new build community and needed to sell it after 5 years, and I don't think people realize when you have a 30-year mortgage how little your principal goes down in 5 years. And when people are still building new houses in the area, your house is not going to go for top dollar, because for top dollar, they can buy a brand new house that hasn't been lived in, and then they can customize the kitchen and the lights and the paint colors the way they want.
Yeah.
So those new build communities are a good opportunity, and I was a motivated seller, and I can tell you, as a motivated seller, you know, you are willing to do whatever it takes just to get out of it, because, you know, you don't have options. You can't sell it on the market with an agent because you're going to lose money. You know, people aren't going to pay you top dollar for it because they can get something brand new. So you're really limited to somebody who can come up to you with a creative deal, and you're almost like begging for that person to come, right? So it's not like the real estate investor is, you know, a shark to prey on people who are in trouble. You're the person that knows the solution that they need and might have the only solution that they need besides getting foreclosed on, right? Like if they're behind on payments or they can't sell traditionally, like that, you are the savior that they're looking for.
100%. I had a phone call yesterday with the seller, and I explained to them sub 2 and what we can offer them, and they started crying on the phone. Why they were crying? Because it's exactly what you said. I was basically answering one of their prayers, and they's like, this sounds too good to be true, right? This sounds too good to be true. And the agent was on the phone as well too. She's like, and she was so mad. She's like, why didn't my broker teach me this? Why didn't I learn this in, you know, real estate school? And it's like, they don't know this because they don't know this is an option. But for us as investors, we know it's an option. It provides them a solution. Mm-hmm. The other thing that people need to understand is in real estate in general, especially talking about creative financing, is that we're not deal creators, we're deal finders. So what does that mean? I can't go to a seller and say, let's create a creative financing deal and let's do it. Everyone's going to tell me no in the face, right? So I can't create a sub 2 deal. I have to find an opportunity. I have to find an individual that's motivated, and creative financing is my solution. Now, is it always the solution? Probably not. A traditional cash offer might work. Putting it on the market and selling it within 30 days, that may be their solution. Mm-hmm. But we aren't deal creators. We're deal finders. And we have to find those individuals that have that problem and it just so happens that my hammer on my tool belt, creative financing, I can use that to hammer it down. Or if it's a screwdriver that I need to screw in a screw, it's that. So that's a really good point that you made there.
When people are talking with sellers or realtors, how should they kind of propose creative financing as an option? Like what's the right way to really say that, besides saying, hey, I'm going to leave your deed of trust in place and you're going to transfer the deed over to me, and they're going to be like, this sounds crazy. You know, like how should you present that option to sellers and agents?
Yeah. Well, first off, when you're dealing with an agent, you kind of have this gatekeeper in the way. So it's hard to work with agents in a sense where they're not really optimistic and open-minded about the situation, right? That's where it comes down to having the right problem in place. So the problem's in place, and you've gone through the agent. The simple script is like, hey, this is my script that I go to all the time. I was like, hey, it looks like the seller just bought this house about a year ago, agent, and they have it back on the market. Is there something wrong with the house, something wrong with the neighborhood, or something wrong? Is there something wrong that I can't see here? And that opens the door for the agent to say, this is our price, and we can't go below it because they just bought the house and they don't have any equity.
Yeah.
Red flags go off right there. Yeah. Automatically you're alerted like, hey, this is a possible creative financing solution, subject to. So then you ask them a simple question. Hey, if I were to be able to solve this problem, and if we were to solve it creatively, and you were to get paid your commissions, and the seller feels protected, what would stop you guys from moving forward with that option? Then they're like starting to think like, oh, they're getting curious now. I'm getting paid my commissions, my seller's solving the problem, and my seller feels protected. You basically generically tell them that, and then then the conversation gets more open-minded. Great, I want to hear more. Okay, well, we're gonna take over the payments of the house. And you have to explain to them why it helps, right? Because if I take over your payments, I don't have a 7 or 8% interest rate, I have a 3% interest rate. So as an investor, I win. And because I can take over payments, my purchase price is a lot higher. Because my purchase price is a lot higher, I can pay out the equity that he does have. So the sellers want to know how much they're getting in their pocket. Sometimes they're writing a check for 20 or 30 grand to be able to get rid of their house. And sometimes sellers are not in the position to do that, right? They want to go rent, they want to go do all those other things. So that's the conversation I have with them to say, hey, if you feel secure, if you get your everything paid as far as your commissions go, and we go through a title company, it's a legal transaction, what's stopping your seller from kind of having a conversation with me directly? And so then that's when I advance the conversation to having an agent call and having a seller conversation to say, hey, this is creative financing. And that's when I go into more deep depth as far as how they feel protected. And one of the common questions is like, okay, well, the mortgage is staying in my name. How do I know that you're going to make payments? That's a common question that we get. And so what we do is we set up a servicing company. So the name of the servicing company that we use is called Provident Loan Servicing or West Star Loan Servicing. So what I tell the sellers is that the servicing company will pull money from my account. They'll put the funds and they'll pay the taxes, the insurance, the interest, and all the insurance every single month. And they'll notify you every single month. And they'll let you know to say, hey, payments are being made. Just out of peace of mind, you get the email. And I can show you my email box where I get all these emails every single month that we're paying the mortgages. The seller gets that as well too. So that's peace of mind. The other thing that we do is to say, hey, if I don't perform, let's just say I pay you 10 grand, I pay your agent 10 grand, I pay closing costs. Let's just say I'm all into the deal at $25,000, right? To take over a 3% interest rate, 2020, let's just say it's a 2021 built house. The house is worth 300 grand. So I'm buying this house for less than 8% down, right? So I'm putting less than 8% down. The seller's getting what they want, the agent's getting what they want, and we're structuring it in a way that makes sense. So the way I put my contracts in place is to say, if I don't perform and I don't make those payments, the seller doesn't have to come foreclose on me. I can just deed the house back to the seller, and the seller will then take the house back without any issues.
Right.
But me as an investor, I'm not going to invest so much money and have that house get deeded back to them, right? So it protects the seller in the sense that, hey, at least I get my 10 grand, which in this case they had no equity, right? So at least I get my 10 grand and I'm walking away with some money. But in the event that house, if something happens, I don't have to go pay all these legal fees to get foreclosed on. I can just take the house back, right? And that's how they feel secure in that.
That's such a great idea, and like why wouldn't a seller say yes to that if that was their only solution, right? Like you've really figured out how to overcome all objections, including giving them that peace of mind that their mortgage is being paid, and even showing them through technology that they're going to get notified that their mortgage is being paid, and using the servicing company to facilitate all that. So that's incredible.
The other objection to overcome, and those of you guys that are following along, is the biggest thing to overcome as well too is like, well, what if that seller wants, like for you example, like if you would have bought your house sub 2, what if you want to go buy another house a year from now, right? If they pull up your credit, they're going to see the mortgage is still in your name. So how do we overcome that? And that's where the servicing company is so critical. It's not just a random servicing company. This servicing company is actually licensed in the state of Texas to be able to handle this transaction. So because they're licensed, your loan officer, if in the event that you do sell sub 2, right? Your loan officer will then pull your credit and say, hey, the loan's still in your name, but it's getting paid by a licensed servicing company. It's called washing the debt, and I wipe away my debt to income ratio 100%. So that way they can go still qualify for another mortgage. If it's a VA loan, they can still qualify for other VA entitlements because we're having the servicing company in place.
Yeah, you're actually able to show that the loan is being paid, so it kind of comes off of their debt to income ratio because they're no longer responsible for that.
Yeah.
And I think what's incredible about this whole story that you're sharing is that you still have a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you're a full-time physical therapist.
Yeah, I'm in the medical field, yeah.
In the medical field, you still manage to find time to invest in real estate. How do you find the time, and why is it so important for you to build this business?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Yeah, so I am a physical therapist and a physical therapist for like 8 years or so, and we all chase this thing, called financial freedom, right? We all chase it. I'm a different individual in a sense where it's like I always want to be actively working. I always want to be doing things. And so I feel like if I'm going to build a business correctly, I want to work on my business, not in my business. So I want to scale it up to where it's like I'm not doing the day-to-day operation. I'm not doing the cold calling. So if I'm still keeping my W-2 job, which is very flexible, right? I can come film the podcast in the middle of the day, and I have flexibility with my W-2 job. For me, it's like, why not take that and use that? In my mind and my mindset is like every hour of the day I want to be making money. Mm-hmm. Whether if it's I'm working my W-2 or I have a break during my W-2 and I can make calls throughout the day, every minute of every hour of the day I want to be trying to make more money, because for me, I'm not making the money for now. I'm trying to build my wealth over time. So if I want to build my wealth over time, I have to invest in myself, join mentorships, join communities, pay a lot of money. So all the real estate that I make, I'm just investing back in myself. So I think that's very powerful for people to understand. I think the biggest mistake that people get into is they quit their W-2 job sooner than what they should. But because they're like, oh man, if I spend more time in real estate, I can then grow that portfolio. For me, it's like, hey, how can I spend the most time with my W-2, and how can I spend the most time with my real estate, and how can I eventually have to work so hard that I'm forced to quit my W-2 job because I'm just not making enough money. Yeah. And I think that'll eventually come. But that's really the main reasons why I do it, is I'm finding a solution, right? Just like a seller needs to find a solution to sell their house, I'm finding a solution to be able to keep my W-2 job so I can then push myself. Like this morning, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because I have to film videos, I have to do all these other things for my business, so I can then start my W-2 job and then take a break with my W-2 job. So it's like I'm finding ways to do that versus other people that say, hey, you know what, I'm making enough money, I'm gonna quit my W-2 and I'm gonna go work out in the mornings instead of waking up early, or instead of getting ready for my W-2. And it's like people, they don't have that discipline to be able to get up and do it. Why? Because then they have an option and they have a choice. They can sleep in, they can snooze that alarm clock. Yeah. For me, I can't snooze that alarm clock because I have a W-2, I have patients that rely on me, I have a company that relies on me, I have a license that I have to uphold by. And so it's like, if I hold myself accountable with that W-2, then it forces me to, how much do I really love real estate? Yeah. How much do I really want to grow this business and have generational wealth and provide financial freedom? Yeah. So it's the decision that I make with myself, and I force myself to make that decision.
One of my favorite books I've read is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker.
Great book.
And one of the principles he talks about, and by the way, I recommend the audiobook because he talks with this cool kind of New York accent and when you listen to the audiobook, so that's entertaining while listening. But one of the principles that I love that he talks about is that poor people have to figure out which item they can choose, right? They try to figure out, I can either have this or I can have that. Whereas wealthy people figure out, how can I have both, right? That's like one of the key principles in that book. It goes through a bunch of like great principles that compare the poor mindset versus wealthy mindset. So it's a great book, highly recommend. But that's exactly what you did, right? Like you had multiple obligations today, and you figured out that if you wake up at 3 a.m, which I know a lot of people listening are gonna be like, oh gosh, there's no way. But no, there is a way, right? Yes. Like you are capable of waking up at 3 if your why and if your will and if your goal is big enough, right? But I'll slightly disagree with you, because I think the number one mistake that people make is that they think they can just do this on their own.
Yes.
Right? And the great thing about real estate, and the bad thing about it is that it's kind of been glamorized with HGTV shows and so much DIY stuff. And so I think people think I could just read a book or I can watch YouTube and do this on my own, but you are going to run into problems, and YouTube and HGTV is not going to answer the question for you, right? So finding the right partnership, the right team, the right community, like you mentioned, Power Hour, or even my mentorship program, and surrounding yourself with people, and most importantly, being on the right track, and having the right mentors that have your back to make sure they're going to be able to help you get through that challenge that you face. I think that's kind of a big mistake that people make, and you can definitely fast track it by being with the right people.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. Like, that's the reason that I'm here, is because of mentorships that I've joined. And it's not only we're in the informational world. So what does that mean? All this information is out there, right? You said it yourself. There's information out there on YouTube and all this other stuff. The problem that we don't have is we don't have enough implementation.
Yeah.
So when you join a mentor like you to say, I've implemented this, and this is why you're paying me as a mentor, so I can help you implement that problem. Mm-hmm. That light fixture doesn't look right, let's replace it. Why? Because I've implemented that strategy, and I can help you make that decision a lot quicker than what you can fail and not learn how to do. So I think the information is out there. The information that I'm teaching, that I'm looking at, all this information is all out there for everyone to look at. The problem is partnering up with somebody like you to say, hey, I need your resources, your skills, and your knowledge. I need your implementation of it. And it's why joining your mentorship is phenomenal, because you provide a lot of that implementation to say, let's go do this together. And I think people need that. And in this world, there's so much information out there. People get overanalyzed. People overanalyze a project. People overanalyze a structure. Versus you come in, you're like, oh, let's do this, and this, and let's move forward.
Yeah.
You make that decision. Why? Because your intuition and your experience and your knowledge, which you've gained over the last couple of years of real estate investing, you gain that, and you got to make a quick decision, and you live with that. Versus the newbie investor doesn't know why, they don't want to make the mistake, they don't want to do this. So I 100% agree with you, and I love that.
So much information and so much misinformation too, right? Because people who are listening may have heard that subject to is not legal, right? But you just mentioned that it's been around for the last 70 years.
Yeah.
You showed me at your workshop you did with my students the other day where it is on the HUD.
Yeah.
So, and that's been there forever. So it's a legitimate strategy, 100% legal, and sometimes the only solution that people have, depending on their situation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of the big boogeymans within Sub 2, it's a lot, and we'll go into this a little bit more. Is like one of the biggest boogeymans is people are like, well, what happens if this due on sale clause happens?
Yeah.
Right. That's the biggest boogeyman as far as Sub 2. And so what is the due on sale clause? If you guys don't know, so the due on sale clause is in the event that the loan gets, in the event that there's a transfer of title, right? The transfer of title occurs, and that loan is not paid off in full. The bank will have the right to be able to call that loan due 100%. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? That means you basically owe that whatever fee or whatever's left on the loan balance, right? Yeah. So people get concerned with that. They're like, oh my God, what about the due on sale? What about the due on sale? What about the due on sale? And so what people, when they're super concerned about the due on sale clause, is they don't understand real estate investing. Mm-hmm. And so the reason I say that is because banks are not in the business of owning real estate. So what does that mean? That means banks don't want to own real estate. As long as the loan is performing, they won't call the loan due. But let's just say hypothetically it does get called due. Then what do? There's like 5 or 6 different things that you can do to overcome that. Yeah. But what physically happens? The deed transfers over, the lender sends you a notification and say, hey, by the way, this loan got transferred. By the way, we're going to call this loan due. You pick up the phone, you call the lender and be like, hey, I transferred the deed. We purchased the house subject to. We caught up their arrear payments. Payments are being made on time. What's the problem? 99% of the time, that's enough to overcome that due on sale clause. And they're like, you know what? You're right. You're making payments. Keep it up. We're good. Boom. Hang up the phone. No dealing with any issues.
Yeah.
99% of the time.
Yeah.
There's that 1% of the time, especially with small local banks. And this is where I caution people when they do Sub 2 is when you deal with a small local bank, really make sure you understand what their policies are. Because some small local banks will say, nope, that's our policy. That's our rule. We've had it for the last 70 years. We're going to call loans due. Great. Good. So then how do you overcome that, right? That's the next question. But if it's a big bank, they don't care, right? You can call their bank, you can call their 1-800 company and say, hey, can you transfer me over to the due on sell department?
Yeah.
They're gonna look at you and be like, huh? I don't exist. There's no one tracking this. And even if they track it, all the banks care about, as you were talking about earlier, is up for the first 10 years. most of that payment that you guys make is interest only. It's mainly is interest, right? It's not interest only, but it's interest for the most part. So as long as the banks are getting paid and the loans are current and the loans are getting paid on time, the banks don't really care. It's a small likelihood of it happening. And one of the analogies that I give to people, and people are watching this on YouTube and on Instagram, is that when people buy a house, they hear about this all the time. If I buy a house under my personal name, I hear this all the time. Hey, deed it over to your LLC. You deed it over to your LLC to create protection, to create some sort of anonymity, right? But what are you doing there? You're transferring the title from your personal name to the LLC. And so that can technically call the loan due.
Yeah.
But most CPAs, most lawyers, most attorneys will tell you, hey, that's a good way to create some protection for you.
Yeah.
So we're doing this all the time. We hear it on TikTok, we hear it on Instagram, we hear it on all these things. Buy it under your personal name, deed it over to your LLC, you create protection. Well, we're doing the exact same thing. We're doing nothing different. But people get super concerned about due on sale clause. And I think the statistics is like 1 out of every 1,000 loans that got transferred sub 2, that were getting purchased sub 2, 1 out of 1,000 have gotten called due on sale. So it's a very small likelihood. And even if it does occur, there's like 5 or 6 things that you can do to overcome that. And all of that is through creative financing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I wanted to simplify getting started in real estate. So I bought things in my own name. And I acquired, I know it's probably crazy, but I think I had up to 25 properties in my personal name. You know, thankfully nothing ever happened, and you know, because I didn't have the liability protection that you mentioned. But yeah, at one point I said, you know, I really need to get these into an LLC. So I hired a lawyer, and he did it all for me, and it didn't trigger a due on sale clause, right? It just was technically changed ownership, right? But my bank didn't bat an eye, and I just kept making mortgage payments, and I didn't care.
Yeah. And so it's like and this is, again, going back to the conversation with educating agents and investors, it's like once you tell them that, they're like, oh yeah, I did that. Or, oh yeah, I've done this. Or even if you tell investors, like agents, what you're doing, they're like, oh yeah, my mom bought a house on owner finance. My parents used to do owner financing or subject to back in the day. And it's just like nowadays it's like coming up because it's like, oh, it's a popular trend. But why is it a popular trend? Well, because interest rates are 7, 8, 9%. Like those numbers don't pencil out. Like I'm not going to pay an extra $1,000 to buy a house when I can just pay $1,000 less just to rent it, right? So the price of ownership, the affordability is a big problem in the United States. And I think that's a deeper question that, you know, if we have time, we can go into it. But affordability is a massive problem. And if you can provide affordability for people, it's massive. But this is one of my biggest goals for this year is creating not only a tool for investors, but also creating a tool for agents, right? Think about this. You have agents that you work with that they have sellers that have a big down payment, but they just don't have the credit that makes sense. But they want a 2 or 3% interest rate, or they want to live in the Heights with a 2 or 3% interest rate, and they have $100,000 down. Great. Me as an investor, I can approach this agent and say, hey, I have this house in the Heights. It's $100,000 down. Do you have a client that has that money and that wants to purchase this house subject to?
Yeah.
And that's where agents can add a tool in their tool belt to say, man, I know creative financing. I know sub 2. I can provide that as a service, not only for my client to sell the house, but also for my client to buy the house. And I think that's very powerful. That's one of my missions this year, is to really connect with agents in that way to say, this is not only a resource and a tool for investors, but also for agents and for using it for their clients.
That's a great point, because there are people out there that, you know, maybe they're self-employed and they don't show a lot of income, or they had a tough credit situation, don't have tough credit, but they do have cash to put as a down payment. And subject to is a great option for agents to say, you know, yeah, there's still hope for you to buy a home and have home ownership, right? We just have to do it creatively.
Exactly.
And that's a great point there. You're making it sound definitely very attractive, and I'm about to go sell all my properties and just purchase everything creative financing. But what are the risks with creative financing or subject to? Like, what should people look out for? What are the dangers?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the biggest things that I would say is obviously the biggest risk I think that I'm seeing right now is that it's so easy to get into creative financing that people just want to throw everything and dump it in. The problem with real estate investors is that they're not patient at all. They are not patient. So it's like if I say, hey, you can go buy 5 or 6 properties next month, creative financing sub 2, and you don't have to use your own money, these investors are like, how can I do it? So I think the biggest risk is that they're growing too quickly. They don't do one transaction and do the next one and do the next one. It's like fix and flippers. It's like, oh, I get one fix and flip, I made $100,000, let's go get 10 more. Right? It's the same thing. It's so good, it's too good to be true, and that I just want to scale too quickly. So that's risk number one, is that you over leverage yourself. So make sure the deal pencils out, make sure it all works out. The second risk is I would sit there and say, I I think the second risk I would say is that, it just, sometimes if you buy a property that doesn't have the best interest rate, it may not be the best investment for you. So what does that mean? That means, hey, what if the interest rate is 6% or so, and you're like, it doesn't really pencil out as a long-term rental, but I want to turn it into an Airbnb. It doesn't really work out as an investment strategy. So I think that's the other risk, is it like making sure that you can underwrite the property correctly. But I think other than that, there's really not a lot, right? Due on sell clause, I mean, that's a risk. It could be, but for the most part, like, it's rare that it does get called. And if it does, again, you find resources, you connect with people like me that do this, and we can help guide people on how to overcome a lot of these problems. But I wouldn't say there's not a lot of risk.
Yeah, the creative financing is certainly a smart strategy for acquiring, but you do have to have the exit strategy in mind, right? So it's like, if you acquire it subject to or seller financing, what is it going to do on the back end, right? Is it going to cash flow as a rental? Yeah. Is it going to cash flow as an Airbnb? If you're going to fix it up and try to resell it, do you have enough equity in there to make a profit, right? So while the creative financing side is great for the acquisition, people do need to think about, like, what are they going to do with the property, right? And does that make financial sense as well?
100%, yeah, and that's where your community is. You have a bunch of owner operators that have Airbnbs that run it, and you need deal finders like wholesalers that say, hey, I have a deal and I don't want to run it, I don't want to manage it, I don't want to do this, right? So it's finding individuals like you that really makes sense. Also, I think the biggest thing too to keep in mind is that if I'm a young wholesaler and I want to go get my first creative financing deal, like, I'm going to connect with people like you to say, hey, where are you buying properties? And I'm going to call all those listings in that area. I'm going to call all those expired listings. I'm going to call all those, all those pre-foreclosures in that area. And I'm going to try to find an opportunity and wrap it up in a bow and bring it to you. Because I think that's the best thing to keep in mind in real estate investing, is you have to have an exit strategy, and you have to have an operator that knows how to perform that exit strategy. Once you do that, you just connect the dots, and you can make a lot of money in this business quickly.
Yeah, you really laid it out, because I think a big question people have when they want to get started is, like, where should I invest in real estate, But if you start with your end buyer in mind, right, and they tell you, I'm interested in this type of property in this area, then let me go to the expired listings, which they can find off MLS or working with a realtor. Let me go look at the pre-foreclosures, which they can go online to. Where do you recommend going to?
Yeah, county records. You can just go to public records. Just Google, Harris County, record department or court records, and you can pull a bunch of lists like that. It's all public information. Right. All this is public knowledge.
Yeah, and so start with the end buyer, find out where they're investing, and then go after these lists and contacting people to find the deals for your buyers, right? So that it's just kind of working backwards and then putting the tools in place.
Yeah, going to networking events, finding people that are actually doing business. The other thing too to keep in mind is make sure they're doing business, right? That's the other thing. If I ask Ehab for a bunch of HUDs, he'll have a bunch of HUDs available. You ask me for HUDs, I'll gladly, like, it's a flex to say, I own these many properties and here's proof of it. Here are the HUDs that I've closed on this transaction. Here's proof of me owning it, right? That's a flex for me, which I love, right? So it's like, find people that are actually doing deals and they're actually doing it at a high level. I think once you find that individual, it's like, dude, how can I do more business with you? And once you understand the end game, it's easy to reverse engineer what they're looking for. And at that point, it just becomes, like we were talking about earlier, it just becomes a relationship business.
You said the best expression the other day in that masterclass. You said, HUD up or shut up.
Yes.
And I'm using that in a presentation, by the way, coming up.
I love it.
It's about talking the talk and walking the walk too, right? Like, you got to back it up with real results.
100%.
How can people learn more about Subject To, or get in touch with you, or join a power hour? Like, how do people get in on that?
I would say just follow me on Instagram. So my Instagram handle, it'll be on here, at Sub2Drew. I would follow me on Instagram, ask me questions. I mean, I'm an open book. The biggest thing about the community that I'm a part of is that we're just a bunch of go-givers that want to just help people. Yeah. And I think the more you can give in this community, and just in real estate in general, the more you can give, the more you can get in return. Because at the end of the day, we need each other to do deals, right? I need you guys to understand creative financing, and I need you guys to bring me opportunities, and then we can make money together. And I think that's the best part about the community that I'm a part of, is that we're just a bunch of go-givers. Last night we were on a Zoom for like 4 hours with one of our mentors, and it's like, all we're doing is talking about real estate, we're just around like-minded individuals. So if you want to be around like-minded individuals and you want to basically, get deals, follow me on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, and we'll be able to kind of connect you with the right resources.
Yeah, it's impossible not to grow and learn if you're spending 4 hours with such smart people and taking action and putting things in place to really be incorporating this into your day-to-day activities. I mean, you're going to grow, you're going to learn, and you're going to buy real estate.
100%, yeah.
Anything else that you want to add? I mean, I think that was great. I think we got like about an hour. Is there anything else that we left out, or?
I think the biggest takeaway for somebody, like if we want to summarize what's going on, is like we got to find people that need to sell. Like that's really the ultimate goal. Whether if it's cash, creative, whatever it is, like we're trying to identify people that need to sell. We're not trying to create these deals out of nowhere. We're trying to find opportunities. And I think if you can focus on more people that need to sell, you can make more money in this business. If you're just focusing on people that's like, oh, I'll sell for the right price, we're not going to make any money in this business, right? Yeah. So it's identifying those people that have a problem that cash solves, right? And who can help solve that problem? My end buyer, my investor, like you. Hey, Ehab can help me solve this problem. I'm going to bring this opportunity to Ehab. And I think that's what people need to understand and that's where people fail in this business, is they focus on the wrong things. And that's where you were saying, join a mentorship, join a community like yours, where it's like you can help speed up the actual process.
Yeah.
You can speed it up and get to your goals a lot quicker. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, surround yourself with the right people, find those motivated sellers, and most importantly, take the time to listen so that you can present to them the right solution.
100%.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Rehab with Ehab podcast. I'm your host, Ehab Shoukry, and Andrew dropped some amazing knowledge bombs here today. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this with your friends and family, because you owe it to them as well to get them involved in this real estate game, get them on the right path to financial freedom so that we can all live the lives that we were meant to live. See you next time, and Andrew, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.